are back with two of my amazing friends and really brilliant access facilitators, Sylvia Puentes.
Hello, hello.
And Francesca Fiorentini.
Well said.
And the chapter that we have is all about ask and you shall receive. And I would like to just really invite you guys. I want to ask, like, if you could go anywhere with this topic, what do you know? What do you know about ask and receive?
One of the things before coming on that I was thinking of, with this topic, this book, and amazing Dr. Dane here, is that when I first met Dr. Dane, it was at an evening intro. I had seen him on videos, I had heard about access, and when I saw him on stage, he'd go left, he'd go right, he'd start a sentence, not finish, and there was just this freedom to be all of him with no apology. And at the same time, there was this level of relaxation and joy in my body going, oh my God, it's okay. No one's running out of the room. No one's upset. And I remember at a break going up to him, and I'm like, thank you so much. Because I didn't know that was okay. I thought, and this is, I even brought a little hanky, because I'm going to get into tears of the level of gratitude of going, wow, it's okay to be that crazy and, not linear. And I had been working so hard all my life to do it right, perfect, correct. Oh. So, you've heard a couple different people covering these chapters of, getting it right. The house, the family, 1 dog, 2 cats, 1 child, the fence, a job with Social Security, and check. And yet there was a little whisper underneath it all going, what else, what else, what else? So for me, this ask and you shall receive chapter, it really is, for me, it's been this soft ask of what else, like more, and yet that was a judgeable offense. How dare you ask for more? And yet if you, know me or know my family, I ask for a lot. And I keep asking for more, and I didn't realize that wasn't wrong. And I'm grateful for Dr. Dane for showing me that, being that, and a lot of the amazing people that I know now that, you can ask for that? You can get a castle and a Ferrari? Really? Do I want a castle and a Ferrari? Or whatever it is, people choosing, creating more in their lives. I'm all, wow. Mm-hmm. So for me, this is what the Being You book has invited me. It's like, what would I like to choose that may inspire one person out in the world to know that they can choose more? So grateful, so grateful.
Wow. And the tears.
Yeah.
Are really... This morning, when I wake up, I didn't have the time to read the book, this chapter again. So
You're bad. You're wrong.
I'm very bad. I did exactly the opposite of what Sylvia said. Wow. I basically tried to do all my life thinking about that I was doing good, but I was looking at myself at that time before knowing the Access Consciousness tools. I did totally the opposite of what I was supposed to do, to show them that I will make it no matter what. So it's funny that you say that. I never thought about it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and I listened to the audio chapter, and when I listened, I'm like, wow. And it took me back 12 years ago when I came across this book, and I didn't have the money to buy the book. I didn't have a credit card. The book was just in English. Fortunately, I knew enough English to understand it. And so what I did, I signed up for the Being You, changingtheword.com, website. So I received the first chapter, the introduction, and this chapter. Oh. And it's interesting because when I was used to read it, I didn't remember that was the one that I was keep repeating, because in this reality, who actually really teach you how to receive? And there is interesting, right? In the book he said, and if you listen to the audiobook, he say, okay, yes, I receive. But truly, how much are we willing to receive? If you go in a bar and someone want to offer you a coffee, you're like, no. Or someone hug you a little bit stronger or for longer, you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Mm. And with Access, I so clearly see how I thought the receiving was taking and giving. That transaction reality, right? So I was always felt obligated to something else, when actually receiving it's first of all receiving you, and then all the energy of the universe, all the amazing friends, so that's how. And if I look at my life 12 years later, keep learning and challenging myself on receiving, I say quote unquote, because it's never a destination. We always for myself actually, I always desire to add more regarding this specific topic. So, good.
And with, you mentioned this, what else could I ask for?
Yeah.
And I grew up in the Midwest of America, which is very much about being happy with what you have. And it's like kind of wrong to ask for more. And what changed my world with this book, with the Tools of Access, was getting, wow, when you actually are willing to ask for more, there's not some finite warehouse with like a limited supply. And we're taught that if you ask and receive, it's somehow taking away from others. And that's without knowing that was the reality I grew up in. It just was. It was like one of those underlying points of view. Like everything should be fair. There's only so much to go around. Don't ask for too much. Be happy with what you have. And then when I looked at, wow, it's when you ask and receive, it like not only does it not take away from like the storehouse of the universe, it adds to it so that there's more for everybody, which was so opposite to anything I had ever gotten. It was like a completely different way of looking at the world, and so much more fun.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I mean, some of you, like I love dressing up, always have, and jewelry has been such a fun thing to be, to add more and more to my life. But it's interesting. Before I became an Access facilitator, I was a kindergarten teacher, third grade teacher. So, elementary, environment, you don't tend to get dressed up too much or put on a lot of jewelry. So when I stepped out and took a leave of absence, I still continued to work with the school in a different way. And I remember my first visit, I was going to have a parent-teacher conference, and I went in, and I sat in the car and took off all my jewelry. Ooh. And I was noticing what I was doing, but still I had the reason and justification. I can't go in with jewelry. I can't show that I'm doing well or, And it was like, and so I started to look at my life and how much I hid the joy, the wealth, or whatever it was. But that was one way. And then there came a point, it's like, I'm not doing that anymore. My son went to a Waldorf school, so that was even more like, be part of the earth and all of that. So then when I would go to teacher meetings, I'd be like, maybe I should take it off. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So I'd start to leave my jewelry on. And then one day, one of my son's parent, came in and she had these beautiful earrings. I'm like, those are gorgeous. And she said to me, she goes, Sylvia, I actually have a lot of jewelry, but I don't wear it. But once I started seeing you wear the jewelry, I started to bring it out and enjoy it again. So exactly what you say, it's like how many people in the world are hiding what they think is crazy about them, their joy, or what they enjoy and the beauty and glamour that they're hiding because no one else they know is choosing it. So it's like that part of like us each choosing to be a little more of what's fun for us, what we enjoy in that being. It's like the world will be different. Yeah. And I just got to say, I was coming up and I noticed everybody had their book. And I'm all like, well, should I take my napkin notes? But if you know, for those of you that know me, there's a little chaos within the way I create. But it's like if we didn't make ourselves wrong for that, like what do you do? What works for you that you've been hiding, not just from everyone else, but from yourself? That might be what propels you to have more joy, more money, more freedom in choosing what really works for you. And I'm still asking for more. There is no final space.
Yeah.
Ask, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, can I ask you guys, so one of the stories in this chapter, Dane talks about his horse.
Wow.
And what his horse showed him. And I know you guys also like to play with horses.
Yeah.
And Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, says, everything I've learned from a horse. But what have you guys, and it doesn't have to be a horse story, but have you been taught by nature or by horses or about what this is, like that energy of receiving, the energy of...
But it's also, it's the energy that I have my horse, thanks to Gary Douglas, and Dane and Simone, Because in a way, like, I always love animals itself, but how can you even fathom to have a horse? For what reason? That's not your sport, and all of that. I took my daughter horse riding when she was a kid, but then for myself, why would I choose that? It's also the level of receiving, but it's the level of receiving, more was the ask. Was I willing to ask for something so different for myself?
Yeah.
So sewing in someone else, I'm like, And then the first time I went on a horse, it was so easy. They were like, oh my God, you like pretty good. I'm like, yeah, it's probably the second time in my life. And I was like, cantering and galloping. But that's, with a horse and animal, for instance, and me works very well with kids as well, that there is not that judgment of what you need to ask and how you have to receive. It's this simultaneous gifting and receiving, they just desire to contribute to you. So with the horse, for me, has been that I have been willing to receive from I don't have the same story that Dane has, but very similar, because for instance now I do have my horse in Costa Rica, and I haven't seen him since last year. Someone say, and I keep paying every month for the horse.
Sounds crazy.
And just the idea of not having Pellegrino in my life anymore, I was like, no. Pellegrino is the name of the horse. And you as well have, and many of us. Because me being willing to give to having him in my life, I keep receiving such an amazing contribution. And my life had been spending. I chose that when I didn't have the money. But it matched with the level of living I desire. When Dane was here with you guys and you asked him to do the energy ball, right? In the energy ball, that was part of the chapter that was for free as well when I didn't have the money to buy the book. So I know by memory that chapter too. The amount of time I was doing the energy pool and I didn't figure it out what that was exactly, which house, which type of job I would have done, or where I would have traveled, all of that. But that horse matched the energy of that energy ball.
Wow.
So, and that's it. Like if I look at now, it's doesn't make any sense. If we look at our family or our friends, or they were trying to explain what our asks are, will not make. Sometimes we don't even say it to each other, even if we do the same job. You guys as well, whatever you desire, the hidden desire, right? Like, what you truly, truly desire. What if it's all okay and it's more? What if you could play with that? But when I was saying that in the chapter as well, Dane is very clear, don't figure it out what that will be. Because that will kill everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I dream something and I already look at exactly what it is, and then never happened because you already lived that. It's like, in a sense for me, let the universe surprise you. It's like your boyfriend or your lover, or let's surprise you. Don't screw everything up.
I remember I might have been like 5,
It's
maybe.
hot though, huh?
Yeah, maybe 5 or 6 years. We're hot. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I might have been 5 or 6, and I remember sitting in the backyard in a very quiet moment, which was very rare. There was always lots of family and people visiting. But I remember sitting out there. So you imagine little 5-year-old, messy hair. Some things never change. But sitting out there, and I remember looking at the sky. It's like, wow, I'm going to be that big. And for a 5-year-old, the only thing I could attach that idea to was the circus people that walk around those high stilts. So, I never ended up working at a circus, but there was this energy of something big. But of something big. And I never came back to that idea or possibility until I actually started to facilitate, travel the world, have 2 horses, 2 different countries, just different choices. I'm all, what did big actually mean? And I'm still exploring that. But I remember as a little kid, it's like, that big.
That's so big.
I love that because it's also you got the energy of big. And how cool when you're a kid, you're like, the circus would be fun. I remember I used to go out and I loved the stars and the moon, and I had one of those teeny little telescopes, and you map out all the craters, and then I was like, what would I like to be? I was like, an astronaut. And then I was all into being it because it was the one thing that matched this energy of like the space and the wonder and the beauty. And I even went to space camp when I was in middle school. And then I started to figure out, and it was so great. My parents just said, sure, you can do whatever. And then I figured out on my own, I was like, oh, I think that means I have to go to military school. And then I was like, I don't think that matches.
No.
But it never but then I look back at that now, and you just told that story. It was an energy of, what do I know of as this kid that sort of is going to match that energy? Yeah. And if you don't make that first idea, that first almost like painting that you draw wrong, it's actually like, what other iterations of it would you like to create? Like, what else would you like to ask for? And then it just keeps expanding rather than, oh, I didn't get that one right, or I didn't do that. And now it's like, if nothing were wrong, all of those like little dreams and whispers, that's you and your awareness and what you truly desire that we go so far away from with the checklist, like the things we've been talking about.
And how many of us begin to look outside of ourselves to try to figure out what would I like? And I tried different religions, and and even I remember in college, early on in college, it was that they have those aptitude tests, like, oh, we will tell you what you're good at, so you'll know what degree to go and sign up for.
That for some reason.
So I took that test, going, finally, someone please tell me, because it was like I needed someone to tell me, because I had the point of view I didn't know, which has been the greatest gift coming to Access. I know something? What? Anyway, so I took the test, and then they come back to me, and they said, sorry, it looks like your problem is going to be choosing, because you have the ability to do so many different things. But it was delivered with such this energy, like sorry, you're a little fucked up, that nothing really matches, but everything could. And so for the longest time, it's like, oh, there really is no specific place for me. Oof. So, how many of you feel like that there's no specific place for you, yet maybe the gift of you is that you could go anywhere and everywhere. But no one talks about that. It's like, where is your hole so you can put your peg in it, and get it right and perfect and correct. And yet part of the strength of me that I'm just barely getting now is that I can go anywhere. And I look back at different jobs that I've had. It's like, sure, I sat with the executives, and was there at a meeting. And then I was out with field workers, and people would say, it's like, Sylvia, it's so strange that you can move around and have this ease. It's like, well, I'm just being me. Like that, there was some clarity, like I'm no different if I'm in an executive office or if I'm out in the fields with, people that may have never gone to school. And so I didn't get how much of a gift that was. And, all of that to just say, it's like, what is the wrongness you've been judging about you that may be the strongness of you? And that question alone, it's like we may not be as wrong or fucked up as we think we are. Yeah. There may be a lot of play and joy in what you've been judging wrong, that if you stop judging it wrong, you could actually be grateful for you and the difference of you.
Well, I think it was one of the first either videos or classes I heard with Gary Douglas, and we have this saying in English that you're a jack of all trades and a master of none, which is that energy of like, so you can kind of do everything, but not very well, so you're never going to master anything. And I had so made myself wrong for that. I was like, how do these other people, they know the one thing they want to do, and then they're really great at it, and I felt so fucked up, because I was like, but I like all of these things, and I'm just forever going to be average and a jack of all trades. And then in class, Gary Douglas said, what if you're a master of all trades and a jack of none, and it's just choice? Just choice. Where would you, and I was like, wow. And then that gift of, you mentioned this earlier, receiving you. Yeah. Like, what is that like? Because that gave me that was the energy of receiving a bit more of me and a bit more of me and more and more and more, to go, wow, that's actually a greatness, not something wrong.
Indeed, because like whatever you just said, it seems like 7 years ago. But that with Access, like I actually went through many religions, many gurus, and many things. But one of the major factors that I didn't stay there was because I was so much judged there as well. And with Simone and Katrina earlier, right, talk about the judgment, and Access have this space of no judgment. Like you can be anything you want, no matter what. The fucked up things, and most of the time, sorry for the nice word, but it's us to keep judging ourselves, right? And that's we're working out. We are working out. But what is that? Because for my life, they told me I was disorganized, and now I'm the worldwide coordinator of Access. I'm like, I was so disorganized because I have so much I can hold everything in my brain so well and remember little things. So actually it was a greatness, wasn't, right? So how much you guys, we have been aligned and agree with other people's points of view, how we look like. And also, one of the things about receiving, it's, when you receive the judgment of others, and also that is become a little bit of an order. That's what you have to be in life. Mm-hmm. And I'm really grateful for my family and the environment I grew up anyway. Like we all did the best we could do with the tools we have, right? So it's like, but I'm like, wow, see my daughter, I'm like, you could really do anything. You could be anything. But now the difference, like, for her receiving here, I allow her to be whatever she want to be without, and I know you are parents and you love your kids, but why I'm saying that, because in a way, for my case, was that you shouldn't be this, you should be that one. And so I was like, how can I receive myself if I need to try to be something else or someone else that will make other people happy, right?
Yeah.
So... yeah.
Well, I love in this chapter too, one of the exercises, and I mean, Katerina, they've sort of played with it already, but like lowering your walls and barriers and really ask to receive more of you. And one of the questions...
Even if it's terrifying sometimes, okay?
Yeah. And how much do we think that? Like we're going to scare ourselves or scare other people?
Yeah. And it's that exercise before you, I don't know if you're going to go into it, but for me, it was that sense, like when that first came up, it's like, oh, okay, like I'll try it, right? Drop my barriers, like, oh, they're down. Okay, they're down. And there was this sense like my barriers were down. And yet, I don't know, I heard it again or something. I was like, oh, they're only down where it's still comfortable.
Yeah.
So there was this sense of literally having to push them down further beyond that box that I had cemented, locked up, buried as deep as I could, so it would never be open, so no one would ever see that. And I remember the first time I allowed myself energetically to, like, whatever that was, like, go and go and go. I remember crying. It's like, it's all those places, like whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime that we've made so wrong, so dark and ugly about us, like going, fuck. Am I willing to be with that I've judged as evil and wrong? And that willingness to like let that go, let it open. And what shows up is more of the brilliance and beauty of receiving you and having more ease. Just, okay, they don't like me or they're judging me, all right. And I remember the gift, there's so many gifts, but one of the gifts that Dane gave me in a class, he goes, oh, well, what are you hiding? And I was like, those questions that come.
And if you know her, it doesn't look like she's hiding. She's projecting really much that she's not hiding, right? But yeah.
And what came up is that I don't like people. I'm hiding that I actually don't like people. No, I don't care. That I don't care for people. And he's all, is that true? Or is it that you don't care about their judgments? And I thought, oh, that.
Yeah.
Like I really don't. But that seemed like such an evil thing, like you should react to people's judgments. But that ease of like, no, I don't. And yet I wasn't even hiding what I thought I was hiding. Because what I thought I was hiding was a judgment that I shouldn't be hiding that. And when the truth showed up, it was this ease and relaxation. And that for me has been one of the gifts and continues to open up with the Access Consciousness tools, is that when things lighten up, as crazy as it seems, that's what's true for you. And so the gift of a question, the gift of dropping your barriers, is to have more of the lightness. And all I can say is that there is more joy to be had, to be received, when you let go of so much.
Yeah. And also it's so much more joy to receive itself.
Yeah.
Because also like how much we stop our receiving so we can control our life so well. Because, like...
Anyone know that one?
Like gratitude, friends, lust, judgment. I'm like, I prefer not to receive so I can control all my emotion, how the life should be, how my work should be. Also, sometimes we work, in our job, we don't want to have anyone else get into it because we know we should open up our receiving greater. And that will be being a little bit out of control because we don't know what could happen. But you know what? That's the beauty of living. That's one of the things I learned the most. That's the beauty of living, like having the uncertainty. There's no uncertainty. Like follow the energy that we were talking earlier. And truly, one of the questions as well that I would like to ask you guys, did you really ever fail or fucked up? Or when there was the moment that you really had to be present and change things in a heartbeat, you just did it. That's also thanks to your receiving, because you have been willing to, but most of the time this happens when we have like very difficult moment, or the old woman, like the grandma lifting the car. She received all the potency because she didn't want to have her grandson killed by a car. It's all of these little things that was in my head, and 12 years ago I'm like, this makes so much sense. I know it doesn't make sense for many people. I can't talk with a lot of people about it because also the way I would have formulated it would have been crazy. But isn't it? Isn't it easier than what we think actually receive? Yeah. How much energy is to keep up our barriers all the time? Because also, I think also like, I don't want to receive other people's energies. What if we can be anything and nothing can even, I don't
stop you.
Sometimes.
Well, and a great question. So we're going to go to the next segment in a little bit, but for you guys to play with that energy of like, what else could you add to your life? Because when you add things, that helps like assist with like giving up control and not having to get it right, like all of these things we've been talking about today, and receiving more of you. And like, what else would you like to add and ask for?
Actually, it was Simone Millis's that I heard her say in one class, if you'd like to increase your receiving, add way more to your life. No joke. You add way more to your life, you can't do it all, You have to work on that muscle and receiving of the people that want to gift you something. So,
good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful for you and for
Thank
all
you,
of you.
everyone.